Sir. I am a data engineer based in Amsterdam, and today I will be sharing some tips that I've learned to code better. The first tip is naming. And what is naming? Is the name that we give to our variables, functions, and classes. Why is it important? Because it gives us insight about what that variable or that function or that class does or contains. Let's take a look at this example. In this code, we have two functions declared above. We have a list of countries, and then for each country, we call two functions, and we're done. Let's take a look at what happens with this variable naming. We have a variable that is called C. We can clearly see that C is a list of countries, and then for each and every country, we call two functions. And here you may say, okay, no worries here, everything can be understood quite nicely. But what happens if we're far down below, and then we want to figure out what X is? So we can see that X is one of the items in C, but we don't know what C is. So we have to go to the declaration of C, then see what it means, and then go back. So jump here, see that it's a list of countries, then go back again and try to decipher this. We as programmers don't want to do this. We want to have it easy and understand code as a newspaper. Just read it and have a very nice understanding. So for this, we should name instead of C. We should have a very good and proper naming. In this case, it could be, we could rename it as European countries. And by doing this, it's much simpler to understand what it has. It obviously has European countries, right? We can do the same for X. X doesn't give me any information about what this variable contains. So instead of X, what we can do is replace X with country, let's say. And now it's much better to understand. So that was the first part. So that is variable naming. And now let's take a look at function naming. The second part is we have two functions, but they don't give me any information. So I have to, again, do the same. I have to decipher it. I have to go to the function and I have to understand what the function is doing. Then I have to go back and then I can continue understanding. Same with function A and function B. So instead of doing this, what we can do is just rename this function and have it a more proper naming. Here, we just print information about that given country. So I'm just gonna put print information about country. Right? Much better, much simpler to understand. I don't have to go to the declaration. I already know what it does, sort of. We can do the same with B. So B, what B is doing is I give a country and it returns the length of that the country name. So I'm going to write get length of country name. It's important that they are descriptive and that they are if you're thinking about shorten it or have it long, it's always better to give more information. And as you can see here, it's very easy to understand what this is doing. So I have European countries, I get each country, I print information about that country, I get the length of that country name, and then I just finally print some other information. Here we have a letter I that doesn't give me any information again. So I can replace this with number of letters and just replace it here, right? So by doing this, my code just becomes much more understandable. And it really doesn't take anything, it's just naming. So just remember to give it a thought when you are naming a variable, when you are naming a function or a class, and naming it in such a way that it gives you information. If we run the code, we see that it works perfectly fine. And yeah, that's basically it. It's a very short video, but I hope you gain some insight. Hope you have a nice day and see you around.